in I think it was 2 months, she got a job as a director. And
Do you have any examples of some really cool success stories that you've had with people as they've come to you to help them build their personal brand and then again take that next step in their career?
yeah, for sure. I helped this one individual a few months ago. He applied for a job and he got an interview and he got the job. And then he requested for a wage increase based on like a salary increase based on his experience. And so what they did was they took the resume that I had created, they sent it to the CEO. They didn't tell him anything else. They just sent the resume and his desired salary increase, and he got a $20,000 raise based on only his resume. So that was pretty cool. That
Oh
was
my
really
gosh,
neat.
that's cool. And that was like right after you got hired?
Yeah, like he got the offer letter and he was negotiating his salary.
Wow, that's
So
cool.
yeah. And then one
That's
of my
cool.
other ones that I really was really fun was this individual was a finance manager and she wanted to transition into the nonprofit world. And so we helped like completely revamp her resume. She'd been applying for years, but nothing came of it because she was a major, like an investment advisor, and she wanted to be like a director in a nonprofit organization. And so we completely redid her resume. We focused more on all her volunteering that she'd done over the past like 10 years. And in I think it was 2 months, she got a job as a director in a nonprofit in her city. So she was really excited about that. So
That's really cool. So whenever you focused on different things in her resume, so you I guess you elevated her volunteer experience probably, right? And
mhm.
then what about her? So I answered a question recently on the podcast where somebody talked about how they kind of didn't completely change, but they slightly modified their job titles to kind of make it more
Yeah.
industry specific. But I'm wondering if there were any other modifications that you did to her work experience to make it show more relevant on her resume. I'm sure that you rewrote any bullets and
Mhm.
subtext, but are there any other things that you did to kind of enhance those work experiences on her resume to make it seem more applicable?
Yeah, so in her finance company, she had joined she had started a mental health initiative, and so we talked about that because that's very nonprofit focused. She
Yeah.
also was on like the social committee and was helping like improve employee engagement, and so we talked about those kinds of things. We really focused on those things more than like how much she increased the investments by and stuff like that. And then we just changed the wording, so instead of like increased sales, we increased funding or whatever, right? So that it matched the language of a nonprofit organization, so that
Yeah.
it made sense to them, so it wasn't too confusing for them too. So
Yeah, and I think that that's a really good point to make because, right, we often like when we're writing, a lot of people when they write their resume, they're writing their resume and they're updating it each time that they change jobs, right? So if you only do
mhm.
that, then you're going to only be in the mindset that you were in as you were leaving or currently in that old role. So if you're, especially if you're trying to make a career pivot, it would make sense that all your language would have been towards the old industry and it wouldn't have been at all
Mhm.
related towards the industry that you were actually trying to work in. So that's a really insightful takeaway right there.
Thank you so much for watching this segment of the Engineering Success Podcast. If you liked it, make sure to check out the other videos down below that are recommended to you. And if you really like the podcast, make sure to subscribe right down there in the middle. We really appreciate it. It's free to you and helps us a lot out. And last but not least, the best way to help the show grow is to comment down below. So leave your comment if you have any thoughts about this segment. Thanks.
I ain't chasing payments, still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.